Okay, we're now walking down to Noah's Ark from the hill that the visitor center is on, and we don't really have a path yet, so we're just going to go down the hill to the valley right here. We have a couple tourists who are friends of friends. They're from Slovakia, but actually one's Ukrainian. He told me he made it out right 2 hours before the invasion happened. Yeah, go ahead, no problem. So they're gonna come down to Noah's Ark. But so this area here, the locals farm it, and they grow usually either hay or wheat, or both. I don't know how many times they plant the crops, but I've had bread from Nuri's wife that was made from the wheat that they grew in this area. So they have this flat, like lavash bread. It's really good, villager bread, very hearty, and that with some sheep butter and sheep yogurt, sheep cheese, and then some fresh tomatoes. Rustic, hearty food, but that's the best. So as you can see, we're going down. The Ark is in a valley between these two hills, and it's halfway up the side of this mountain. These are small mountains here just south of the big Mount Ararat, and you'll notice that the Ark sitting in the valley floor. You know, this first appeared in 1959 on the photographs where they first discovered it, but it was 1948 or 49 that the villagers saw it. They said it had an earthquake here, and they didn't know what it was. It wasn't until Durupınar made the news for finding it that people began to think this is the buried remains of Noah's Ark. Now in the past there were no trees here. Now there's a bunch of trees because of the water, so it kind of blocks the view. We've cut a couple down, but give you a good view. Now usually they don't allow people to go down on the Ark, but we have special permission to go down on it. You can see the rough terrain here, and this is a mud flow, an earth flow we're in. So the debris after that first earthquake, it turned up this hillside, the mountainside. They used to plant crops out here, and then when the earthquake hit and there was a mud flow created, they could no longer farm. I don't know, maybe they're looking for a photo, but we're going this way. So yeah, you can see how hilly this is now. In the springtime, the grass is so tall, it's very muddy, that you gotta be careful coming down here because you'll sprain your ankle, twist it, because of all the different holes in the ground. So right here is a great spot, and you can see the Ark that's laying there, and we're on the edge of the ravine, but you can see how the dirt fell away from the sides after we believe it was a 68 earthquake that really did it. And there was another earthquake that Ron saw in the news in 78, so he made a second trip out here after that, and that one opened up a crack down the middle. But before that, the sides had already fallen away from the older photographs we saw in 1973. So kind of popped out the boat, and as you can see here, the ship shape is just sitting there. There's a stability to the site. There's something with the matrix, with the dirt, that's keeping it together also, the chemical makeup. And of course we did soil analysis. Ron has done soil analysis, all of these type of tests to see what's going on with this site. And what we found, and it matched Ron's one sample, was that the soil inside was almost 3 times more organic matter, lower pH, and 10 times lower pH almost, or 8 times, and also higher potassium. So if this was a wooden ship decaying there, you would expect something like that. That we're also needing to test more to find out why the soil is harder and not falling apart. And as you can see, there's the visitor center up on the hill. We're going to keep going. It's a beautiful day. It's middle of October here, or actually that's the end of October, and pretty good weather. It's a little breeze, but not much, so it's kind of warm. There is Mount Ararat. So you can see from this location, we're in the valley here. Now, some people have claimed that basement rock is what created this ship shape, that there's a ridge of basement rock there, or one big boulder or two in the middle that connects underground to the bedrock, and then the mud flow went around it and created the ship shape. The problem is, looking at the angle of these hills, we can tell the depth of the valley floor here, and that would require this basement rock to kind of spike up like a chimney, and that doesn't form like that with the mud going around it. Now, if you had it up in the air like at Cappadocia, you could have chimney formations, but this would not have formed like that on top of it if it was mud going around an obstruction. Due to fluid dynamics, the pointed end, which you can actually see right there, kind of the arc shape's kind of warped right now as it's falling apart, but the pointed end right over there, that would be downhill due to fluid dynamics, and the material would have formed the point where I'm at on this side, the north downhill side, and the upper end where the material will build up around the obstruction like a rock would be rounded. And this is the complete opposite. So you have to find another explanation for the ship's shape. Others have said instead of being dirt going around a rock, it's a solid piece of rock that came down from above and ended up over here, and then glaciers and weathering created the ship shape. There's no evidence of glaciers at this level here, and the object itself is not a solid piece of rock. Some of the basic core drilling, definitely the ERT and GPR, shows that it's different layers and dirt. And as you walk around and look at it, you can tell it's dirt. So this is not a solid rock, a block of rock that came down. So again, you're back to what is it? And it's almost like there's a biblical signature on it, because, okay, let's say you can find a ship other places in the world that's decayed, or oval shapes, but this is exactly 300 cubits long, 300 Royal Egyptian cubits, so that's the longer cubit, and it's in the Mountains of Ararat. So for those who just immediately dismiss it, it's very sad, because this is what you're looking for. Instead, they're wasting money and time and breath and oxygen to look for the ark up on, especially Ararat, or some don't even look for it and just kind of study books and say it's on Judy down south of here, where the Quran says. So we're going to make some videos going in depth about each of these sites and talking about it. But So we have some of these tourists up there on the Ark. Actually gives a great perspective. The guy on the eastern side there, a Ukrainian friend there, and then the Slovakian guy coming up. So, from the visitor center, even some of my videos, people say, "Oh, this is not Noah's Ark, it's too small." So, again, it looks small from the hilltop. When you're down on it right there, you can see how big it is. And yes, it does match the biblical account. So if the Bible says it's 300 cubits long, and this is 300 cubits long, then it's not too small. God knew the size. He's the one who told Moses. He's the one who told Noah the length and breadth and height for the ship and how to build it and all the architectural design. He gave it to Noah. So God gave it the right size, and this is not too small. It's amazing how much misinformation is out there, or people who don't read their Bible, or just illogical hyperbole or sensationalism. But of course, this site has gotten its fair share of people making a lot of claims, especially those saying they found wood all over the place. What we're looking at is the top of the archaeological site, the surface, and most of the surface is covered with debris from the mud flow. So you find rocks of different types on top. Those rocks, if you look up close, they are not petrified wood. Now, inside the formation, we hope to find petrified wood because there's definitely structure that's preserved according to the geophysical survey. But to walk on top of this thing, if they, over all these years, the wood had petrified here somehow and it was exposed, and here's a solid chunk of it, they need to prove that with testing. You can't just point to something and say, "Hey, this is a petrified wood." So everyone wants to find something big to be the ultimate proof for something about the Bible, and we all hope that. But we gotta make sure we get our facts straight, and also don't just believe everything that's said about the site. It is definitely Noah's Ark, but what you're looking at, just like the Sutton Hoo boat in England and other archaeological boats that have been discovered, Roman and Greek and Byzantine, all the way back to the Bronze Age ships. Boats, as they're decaying, falls apart. Usually nothing's left, or just the bottom part of the hull. So we're hoping, based on the geophysical survey work, that there's more than that down below. But when you see a site like this, what you're really studying is the chemical makeup of the material. So soil testing, microscopic type studies, and not chunks of wood sticking out. A good example is where Ron did his so-called, they call it the mini excavation, where they scraped the side. It showed what looked to be the rib timbers, and those were not solid. That was near the surface. They took a couple inches off. That was on the southeast side at the top, pointed in, and that showed the state of the preservation of the site, that it's all fractured, it's all small particles. Now, sadly, I didn't see any test results, though, showing what was what. So you had good photographs, but I wish they had taken soil samples right there to compare between the light and dark striations, to show, like if something is like fragmented petrified wood versus this dirt infilling between the rib timbers. So maybe someday we could do that. Now, people have always asked, when will you excavate? When will somebody excavate? Ron tried many years. We're trying. Everything in the Middle East goes slow, and there's different excuses or reasons people don't want to do it. Of course, you need to find an archaeologist. So we're in Turkey. So a Turkish university and archaeologist has to be in charge of the site of an excavation anywhere here. And they can partner up with other archaeologists outside or students. Now, they don't do volunteer archaeology like you have in Israel. non-archaeologists or students who aren't archaeology majors can't just join a dig. But at any rate, you need an archaeologist in charge. Now, that's the most difficult thing to find, is an archaeologist who's going to put their career on the line and say, this is Noah's Ark, let me raise money and write articles and reports and put the school's reputation on the line that I'm looking for Noah's Ark. Sadly, most people, even in Turkey, don't believe in the biblical account, or the account that's in the Quran, that there was a flood and that there was a Noah's Ark. And because of all the past criticism of this site, unjustly, most of them, most people have already written it off, or they look up on the internet and they say, oh, yeah, this is geologists say it's natural, so then I can go back and revisit the issue. So it's very tough to find an archaeologist to be in charge of an excavation and put their time and reputation and money into it. Now, let's say we found someone like that. Then the next thing is, what's the best way to understand this site? Right now we're dealing with geology. So the surface, the landform, the land flow around it, the earth flow, the chemistry. And so we have a Turkish geologist we work with who collects the samples and does the testing. We pay for it all, or we tell him what we're trying to do, and he does it. And so that's kind of how it works for now. Now, the next best thing after we do all the non-destructive work, we're not done with those yet, but after all the geophysical survey, the soil and rock test, we hope to do core drilling. And sadly, no one's really done a complete core drilling survey of the site. Even here and there, one or two spots people have done it, or like when Solly was working with Baumgartner in '88, they tried to do core drilling, but they had the wrong machine. It was a water cooling bit that washed all the data away when they pulled up the core. As you can tell, as they notice, the top part and the sides, it's all dirt. It's not a rock formation. So when you pull up this loose material of dirt and a core, you can't use water to cool the bit, because then you'll leave nothing left. None of your samples and evidence, it would be all washed away, and only the pebbles and sand would be left. And that's exactly what happened. So that's the only time a core survey was attempted that was going to do more than just one or two. They were trying to do, I think they did 3 or 4. So we want to repeat that with the right type of machine. Now, Ron did coring at a couple, at least one spot, like that went in pretty far, maybe 5 to 10 feet, but and they later pulled out samples. Now, this is where the story, I need to revisit this with some people, but the horizontal core we'll show you in a bit. In fact, we'll walk that way now, and then we'll come down the arc. So we're going to walk up the sides here. There's one place he cored. Now, according to Dr. Salih Baraktutan, he was the one who did this core hole there. And I know later, Mary Nell or somebody, I think it was Mary Nell, had stuck their hand in it and pulled out samples. The question is, was it Ron who had cored? And was it at the exact same time that Mary Nell stuck her hand in? Because they were able to pull out samples, and they got one piece that looked like fiber optic fabric or material, but very small. Had fiber optic qualities, and so the guy was saying it's man-made when they did at the laboratory. And then another piece of evidence that was found in the matrix that was pulled out was red animal hair. So I think they said from the cat family. So the question though was how long was that hole open before they pulled out the matrix? Was it just right after they opened it up and cored it? Or was it a couple of years later, which would then be less useful because of potential contamination? Anyway, they had a rainstorm here, or rain, so it's kind of muddy in this valley area. It rained here a couple of days ago, I think. But today is beautiful. Supposed to rain a little tomorrow in Dobysat. Okay, I want to talk about this area because you can see these indentions, these ridges on the side of where the dirt has fallen away, exposing the side of the boat shape. And again, this area was covered with dirt. Look at the old photographs. And this material right here to the left, I know this is a 360 view, but to the west, towards the visitor center, this was pushed up to the Ark site. And so now that's fallen away, it's exposed these walls. You can say, well, what's the difference? Why did this fall away just like right around the actual ship shape you see in the old photographs? Why not the dirt inside the boat fall away too after these earthquakes? So it does suggest that there's stability inside the site, and definitely the soil is different. And as Durupınar mentioned in his interviews, and as Dr. Sally's pointed out, that the matrix is harder inside there, inside the Ark. So yes, there's erosion going around, and of course it's exposed the elements, but it's still the same length and width from when they first measured it in 1950 or 60 and then onward. So you got to have another explanation. And look, you look at this site, you can see that the walls this is not a solid rock. You can see pebbles and dirt and things that have been pushed up against it when it got covered up. So those who say this is a block of rock that came down and then a glacier shaped it, sadly they don't know what they're talking about, and they are PhD level geologists. This shows you can get your degree, and doesn't mean you'll understand a site. So nothing wrong with a degree, but a lot of times you see that people's worldviews or biases come into play when they're interpreting a site, especially one as controversial as Noah's Ark. They will find anything to say it's not Noah's Ark. So now we're just walking up this west side. Again, this was the area where a lot of material was pushed up against it. And in the 1973 photograph by Dr. Burdick, he came out here with Earl Cummings, and his one black and white photo I saw in an article, and I really need to get a hold of the family to get the original, but it does show that this side has already fallen away in 73. And it shows the east side too, based on the shadows, that the east wall fell away. So that means that the 1978 earthquake Ron heard of on the news and came out here and he thought it had changed the site, did not. It did put a crack down the middle. I don't see any evidence of the crack appearing before 78. We have access to U.S. declassified spy satellite photos, and they're good enough that you can see the crack in it in the later photos. So this is the core area. So it's been filled in. I don't know if I can stick the camera in there. Usually, used to in the past, you could stick a camera or your hand into it, but now it's half filled in because the mud coming down, and someone took a sample right there. So I think they said it was Ağrı University. I'm going to try to stick the camera in. Yeah, it's not going to work with the microphone. And it wouldn't give you much info being up close. But this is also the area where they tried to hammer in the stakes for the ERT, the steel stakes, and they hit a solid object 2 inches in that was about 2 feet wide and 20 feet tall. And then the ERT, at least the 2D ERT, was showing something here. Now the 3D, which gave more of gives better information for the whole area, it was still showing that there's curvature to a hull, but that was much further down. So I don't know if the 3D lost the shape, but in the 2D there is a vertical shape showing up in this area, and it goes into the Ark, like there's a horizontal deck timbers. So if you look at some of the older, it might be even on John Marshall's website still, they do have an image showing what I'm talking about, this vertical and possible preserved rib timber, or just a harder matrix of soil that filled in where the rib timbers were. Now you can see that there is water erosion going around places. Now Ron suggested that the water was coming down where the rib timbers had fractured, and so other people suggested that the water's gone around where the rib timbers are still at under the soil there. You know, this is things we have to explore in the future to determine. But he was getting 9-foot readings with the metal detector on the top of there. So again, this whole area fell away. It's amazing how God used earthquakes to naturally excavate, or at least expose it better. I try to find as many old photos of this site as possible, though, because it shows the history, the erosion. It shows better what the shows the site, what it looked like in the past better, before erosion happened, when the soil was up to it. So the more photos we find, especially the aerial photographs, we're still looking for a couple other sets of photos. We think they exist for this area, and once we find them, we will put them in our videos and share them online. But right now, it's going to probably take until next year to get them. Let's keep heading up this side. Here's our friends. You guys get to the top? Yeah, I'm just making a 360 video, so... no, it's a 360 video I'm making, like a virtual tour. 360 yeah, it has 2 lenses on it, and so when I put it on YouTube, you can change the camera and look all the way around, because it has 360. Yeah. Yeah, you have any questions? Yeah.
It's possible to see now this old wood from this ship, so this boat. It's possible this material, old wood from this ship is possible, or is different materials here and
fossil. Wikipedia.
Yeah, there is what you said on the outside, and what you're walking on is material that's covered it. So which of course has been chemically affected as the boat decays. It changes the soil. Like last year we did soil analysis inside and outside, and it showed that inside the boat had, to be exact, like 2.73 times more, so like 273% more organic matter inside versus outside. So higher organic matter. So like if it's a huge wooden ship, that's a lot of organic matter. As that decayed, it affected the soil. Plus the pH, the acidity level, it is about 8 times on the pH scale lower. So it's 8 point something, and the outside is 9 something. Yeah, so you have, what it shows that the soil inside the ship shape is different from this soil. But what you're seeing, like there's no wood sticking out like you get like ancient wood. People have said, like when you're walking in the ship, what you guys did up that east side, they see rocks, and even Fazled and Ron Wyatt, they said, oh, this is petrified wood. But we've had geologists out here, and they look at it and said, no, this is basalt. So there's a lot of boulders and rocks that have fallen in as the mud covered the boat. But there's no petrified wood like just sticking out of the ground. Everything's inside still, deep inside.
То что некая скала спаднула, а закрыла потом ту лодь, насыпала, видишь? А той материал внутри, он є различний, там та часть предня вела ako органіки, keď копаєш донутра, там буде органічне, некий матеріал органічний, не такий, як тут є розділ. Але зараз ми не можемо його побачити, як дерево, то не буде визирати, як дерево розпаднуте. Takže tá skala nejaká nakryla tento všetku loď, zasypala porodou, špinою.
A opýta sa, že či to ten kopec alebo toto, či to bolo vulkanického pôvodu, toto tu na, rozumieš mi? Že sopka, vieš čo je? Že či sa to zosunulo, či sa zosunul tento predmet dole.
When it's Noi arrived on this place.
Yes.
After this ship little bit move.
Yes,
it's not same place.
Exactly. It came from above. higher up the mountain. That's the Iranian border, further up, but over a kilometer up, and then it came to this location.
Ага, около кілометра там ніяка
Ну,
верх був, і то змістилось сем потім.
Čiže to tam vybuchlo a
Ну, не wiem, чи вибухло, за яких... It's some volcanic process or geologic process?
No, it wasn't volcanic. There's some volcanic rocks here, but it wasn't a lava. Ron thought it was a lava flow, but it wasn't. This came down because of an earth flow. An earthquake happened, and a lot of rain and an earthquake, and it became very unstable. And this whole thing, you can see on the satellite or drone photos that the earth, the mud comes all the way down and goes around the valley. So, and this is not lava. Yeah.
То не вулканічне,
This
не
is-
лава,
but
а
it's-
від дождя шпіна.
It's like water, earthquake, make it very unstable, and it all came down.
Ale opýtaj sa ho, že akým spôsobom si vysvetľujú, že to tam prikrylo, hej, to, čo je vo vnútri. Rozumieš, čo si sa pýtal? Že to padlo na tú formáciu, ktorá už tu bola.
Ну, то он повідав, що то не було вулканічне, а то нормальний процес, естественно,
Viem,
гори.
ale že to prikrylo tú loď, to, čo predtým hovoril. Vieš, to vo vnútri, tá skala, to som ti hovoril, že ona padla na to a on tvrdí, že to padlo na to. Že ako si to vysvetľuje.
Ну, так лодь доле som pochopil zostala, a to potom ako закрило aj tá skala, a tá špína, všetko закрило tú loď. Ono ako zhora skatилось, hýbалося. Пришло згора, а закрило ту лодь, спадло ako špína. Najprv loď spustилася, шло ako špína, дожди, першало. Спустилась najprv loď, a potom nejaké procesy, a tá skala potom nakryla.
Toto. To sa zosunulo dole? Že tu bol ten pohyb stále
This is
toho
material
blata.
from this top move.
Materiál.
This material.
Yes, you can say this is all from the mountain itself. Yes, coming down. Yeah.
Yes, but we see on the center of ship stone.
Yeah, but you know the mud flow. There's a lot of big boulders. So there's a stone here. There's a couple stones in the middle, and there's also black stone along the top. Big boulders that had come down when the ark got covered by the dirt. So it's a mix of big boulders, small stones. Like there's a stone there. You know, there's stones.
Takže воно скатилося зверху, упало. То камені ті
Lebo sa
накатилися.
zosúvajú, čo aj vidíš aj dneska, že sa ti pôda zosunie sa ti
No.
dole.
Так то všetko, aj tá špína, aj tie kamені, taký mix
Hej,
nakrylo to loď.
The scans shows that big boulder in the middle, it's not part of the bedrock. It's actually it's a free floating boulder. It's just sitting there.
Shape of border is scan this.
Yeah, we scanned this whole boat in the past 2 times, and the boulder there, that rock, is not bedrock. It's just came down with the boat. So maybe it rolled in, like when the boat came down, it might have come down with it at the same time. Like before, like when the ark was up there, the rock fell inside of it, and then the whole thing come down, and then more dirt covered it. You know, it's a wooden ship. It slowly decay, fall apart. The dirt falls in, and over thousands of years, it covered up.
Takže vnútro je organického pôvodu, že či sa robili vrty, alebo akým spôsobom sa zobrala vzorka vo vnútri, vieš, rozumieš mi ty?
Rozumiem.
Lebo on hovoril, že vo vnútri, že je to organického pôvodu, že to je inakší materiál než tento tuna.
Hej.
No,
Tam je veľa organiky.
No ale či sa robili vrty?
Vrt, ja neviem ako vrt.
Drilling.
Vzorka.
Maybe drilling.
A do akej
What is
hĺbky?
way?
Yeah, that's our plan. It depends on money and the permission from the Turkish government, but we want to drill the site. Yeah.
Drill?
Yeah.
A
There was one drill done right here. You can see, but this was done either by Dr. Salih Barik Tutan, the Turkish geologist, or Ron Wyatt. Someone drilled it. It's halfway filled with mud, but it went about 3 meters in.
3 meters.
Yeah, and this is where they found the animal hair and the fiber optic
Animal.
Yeah, a red animal hair that was inside that hole.
Нічого
Yeah, you can go there and see it.
What is from animal? It's some ball or excrement?
You know what? Someone said this was also where they found the fossilized excrement. I don't. The hole's so small. I don't think so because the photo I thought it looked a little bigger. The sample, but definitely the animal hair they found in here and the fiber optic, very microscopic, very small, but it had fiber optic qualities because light was coming through it. So the lab technician in America said this is a man-made fiber. But it's that hole right at the bottom there. It's just half filled. Yeah. So you can kind of look in. It used to be a hole like round, but a couple years ago, dirt came in, and then now it's half filled in. But you can go look inside there.
Can you show?
Yeah, no, go ahead, go, no problem. Yeah, you can see it at the bottom there.
Basalt.
Yeah, not that one, but right, yeah, down below, yeah. It was a core drilling all the way in, about 3 meters down. And so this whole area was covered with, if you look at the old photographs in the visitor center, before the earthquake, all this dirt here was all the way up to here. So where you're standing was all underground. This was all covered with dirt.
Zemetrasenie tu na bolo.
And now it's fallen away and exposed the ark, like all the way around it now, except for this area. 3/4 of the way around the boat, the dirt's fallen away.
Toto?
Yeah, this was up.
То все шибко було тут.
Yeah.
Було коцельне.
Look at the old, and the visitor center on the walls, you'll see the old, like the black and white photo, some of the old color photos. You'll see that this side, this west side, all the dirt's right up to it. Yeah.
Некогда то було з полу, потім землетрус, то отворило ту частку.
Lecte, posledný lecte. Posledný.
Fossils?
Last. Последний last.
Last scan.
Yeah.
When?
Ankara. Tak to poviem.
Last scan.
Last scan.
Scan process.
Scan.
Process is last.
Scan.
Yeah.
Rezultat.
Result. Last
When,
result.
like what year? Or what's the question?
No, opýtam sa ho, že...
Kedy to було?
No,
Ти chceš znať kedy, alebo aký výsledok z toho?
ja ti poviem, ty si to sformuluje. Robo mi hovoril, že teraz, keď boli u Saudov, v Saudskej Arabii, a on tam asi vraj nebol, mal doniesť výsledky posledného skenu, ktorý robili tu v Ankare alebo v onom, v tom Carihrade.
Do you know last result of last scan of this?
So we scanned in 2019. That's what we did. So we have those results. Some of them are in the visitor center.
Excuse me, when is
2019 was when we last scanned it. So 6 years ago.
2019. 2019 року. Последнее было?
Yeah. And in 2021, Turkish scientists, we were here when they scanned it again. Those results they haven't released yet, so we don't know what those were. That's 2021, so that's 4 years ago. Yeah.
Последние результаты що з турками, Анкара що робили, он не вів.
Lebo Robo mi hovoril, tak neviem, potom sa nerozumeli, že ten posledný sken, že bola kde visí, že ešte nezverejnili ho. Tak potom on mi to mal ako, že Robo to mal od neho a on teraz nič nevie o tom, chápeš? No. Tak to je dosť závažná vec.
Okay. It's correct. I understand. 2019 last scan is official scan. You have this result.
Yeah.
You know. Last rescission, Turkish rescission. You don't have this result.
Exactly. Yeah. We saw them do it. We videoed them, but they gave the data to the governor's office. And they have not released any information yet.
Вони споювалися з урядом Турції, з тим, де то так нема жодних результатів.
Yeah.
Не є. Последнє то, що в турках робили, нема результатів.
And we have a new
Ale robili.
Робили.
A v ktorom roku? Kedy robili?
When is Turkish result date?
2021. 4 years ago. 2021.
Ага, 2021.
No asi to bolo ono. A rezultát, vieš ten výsledok
No
toho?
nie, nема.
Nie,
Официально его не выставили.
Yeah,
Может,
Turkish scientists were here. 2021. They scanned it. We were here too. We brought them,
Ага.
but the governor's office kept the data, and they haven't released the report yet. So we're trying to get a hold of it, but they haven't released it.
Вони з полу то робили, але турки не дали їм результату.
A
Офіційно.
kto robil spolu?
Ну, ako он тут теж був.
Ankara und Istanbul Archaeologische Institut, že či sa...
Yeah, they didn't scan. Okay,
Či sú...
that was 2022. They didn't scan the boat. They were just walking, looking. They did a surface survey, like the whole mountainside, and they found fossils and rocks.
No scan.
No scan. No.
2022 ще нічого було, але вони не сканували. А то, що
Yeah.
2021
Istanbul, Istanbul University, E2, Istanbul Technical University, Ağrı University, and there's two universities. They work together, but they just walking on the ground.
Ага, зараз, ну, ako прихацьку робили ту.
Yeah, the first step of any archaeology is surface. It's called a surface survey. You walk and look, see if you find. They found pottery, so that's archaeological material. But they were looking at the rocks but no geophysical survey, no radar, no. It's like that.
Также ніч таке не робили, ні верти, ніч, лен так. Попозирали, що наверху можна.
But it wasn't just Noah's Ark. They did the whole mountainside. They were walking, looking. So it wasn't just Noah's Ark.
Nespomínal tam fasolda. Vieš, to je podstatné, lebo na Wikipédii stojí, opýtaj sa ho takto, na Wikipédii stojí, že promovaný archeológ Fasold tvrdí, že to nie je pravda. Toto sa, nejak si to sformuluj, že čo on na to hovorí. Lebo to je na Wikipédii.
Yeah, I used to talk to him on the phone when he was alive. When I was a kid, I used to call him. I talked to him a lot.
But Fasold said that information in Wikipedia, and it's not correct.
Yeah.
From this.
Yeah. Wikipedia is usually wrong because they're atheist.
Що Вікіпедія ako неправда на Вікіпедії.
Či sa Fasold stotožňuje s tým, čo napísala CIA na Wikipédii? Tak mu to povedz, akože neviem čo, ako zareagovať.
Fasold has another meaning about information in Wikipedia, yes? From this object. Or same meaning. When we read Wikipedia, this object, it's one information.
Yeah.
But meaning, Fasold meaning is different. Has some different between information in Wikipedia and meaning Fasold.
You mean in his book or what? What do you mean?
About this place.
Yeah. Well, he first thought this was Noah's Ark. He changed his mind, said maybe it's a spot the ancient people thought was Noah's Ark, but a natural formation. But then before he died in 1998, I think he passed away, a friend of mine talked to him, and he changed his mind again, he claimed, my friend said, that he...
changed its meaning?
Right before he died, that he still believed it was Noah's Ark. Wikipedia only mentioned that he changed his mind, and then they say, it's a natural formation, dirt and rock.
But Fasold now...
But he went back and forth, yeah. But for Ron Wyatt, he always believed it was Noah's Ark. For Ron Wyatt.
But now Fasold below that it's Ark.
He died, 1998.
Died.
Yeah.
Zomer Fasold.
Yeah, he died in 98. 1 year, Ron died in 1999, Ron Wyatt. Fazl died the year before. So none of them are alive. They're all, yeah.
Ako?
После Рона Уайта nejaký час замер aj той Fasold, замер. Але потім він змінив назор свій. Takže ako čo myslel, čo to už potom je ako to.
Ale na aký názor zmenil? Lebo na tej Wikipédii to stojí, že...
You can ignore Wikipedia. Wikipedia is wrong.
Yes.
Ale ja viem, ale Ron Wyatt amatér.
Yes. Fazl's amateur too. Fazl, he's not an archaeologist. Fazl was a marine. He was a boat captain, marine salvage.
Он є капітан лоді.
So yeah, The only person who is a professional that believes this is Noah's Ark is the geologist Dr. Salih Bayraktutan, a Turkish geologist. And he's still alive. He's been working on this site since 1984, 85. And he's still alive. And he was just here yesterday. He lives in Erzurum, 4 hours from here. And so we work with him when we do our test.
And his Turkish archaeologist believes that is
geologist.
Yeah. Believes that
this is yeah.
Некий профессиональный туристский археолог. Он тут був з 1992 по 5 тут працював.
1900...
Другий, а п'ятий.
Почкай. 2002...
1992, а 1995. Он тут працював, бив негде там за Ерзерумом, а он присвідчився, що то є лодь.
A to boli aj Američania, ktorí hovorili, odborník na takéto objekty.
Так є он odborník, hej, a on presvedčil za tie roky práce.
Wikipedia, Ron Wyatt, hej, ale pople. Ron Wyatt, amatér, a Fasold, professional
that's all wrong.
Archaeolog.
No.
It's not true.
I used to talk to Fasold and Ron as a teenager in the 1990s. Many times. I call him on the telephone and we talk hours on the phone. Both of them are not archaeologists.
Що не професіонально. Коли він був малим, 17 або 19 років, коли він був тінейджером, він волався з ним на телефоні. Вони волалися.
З Fasoldom?
Áno.
A on robil kapitána lodi?
His job profession,
Námorník bol?
Fasold was, they call him a marine salvage. You know, they the boat and they go out there and they pull up like treasures. They do treasure hunting. They work on ships. But he was he was with a ship, like a ship captain. Yeah.
Капітан лоді потім, як достав капітан лоді. Так же він не професіональний.
He's not an archaeologist. No.
Ale čo vyslovene, že profesionálny archeológ.
No.
Nie je pravda.
Keď už zomrel.
Yeah, Wikipedia, most of the stuff they have it twisted or half right, and you can't edit. You try to edit it because the atheists will take away your edit. Yeah, so creationists or Christians who want to change, because they have wrong information about this site. They misquote Fasold, for example. They say this boat was not 515 feet long. They make it
How long?
it's 515 feet or about 157 meters.
500.
Yeah, 515 feet. But on Wikipedia they have a different number. And they footnote the footnote says David Fasold in his book. When you go to that page and read the book, they misquote him. He has the right number in his book, but they change it and they put it on Wikipedia. Then they say, well, this was roughly 300 cubits. No, it's exactly 300 cubits. So it's exactly.
Не є правда, і те, що там великості лоді, що написано, теж не є правда. Тут ніяких 155 метрів, або сам так похопив.
Ihrisko, 130 metrov, 120 alebo koľko?
No, to je 555.
Toto?
No.
Koľko to má? Koľko to?
The tail is long
515 feet, or 157 meters long.
555.
That's 300 Egyptian cubits, Royal Egyptian cubits.
To musí mať 120 alebo 130. Koľko povedal?
555.
500? To nemá pol kilometra.
I'm going to finish the tour. I got to finish my video.
100.
Huh?
I think this formation, it's...
We've measured it with laser and with tape measure, and you do on Google,
40.
but the Bible says Noah's Ark is 300 cubits long.
300 cubits?
Yeah, in the Bible, in Genesis. You convert that to meters and feet, it's 515 feet. Yeah.
Кубических ніяких, кубических.
No, it's exactly. That's why people are so interested. Wow, this site is exactly the size of Noah's Ark. It is wider this way, but the boat has fallen, as it got older, it fell apart. Yeah.
40.
Yes.
40.
So it's wider.
The Bible has 40 meters. Like
it has 50 cubits. No, not 50 cubits. 50 cubits.
What is cubits?
Yeah, well, a cubit is the ancient measurement from the Bible times.
Kubik.
In the book of Genesis, They're like now we have meters or feet in America, and in ancient time, you read the Hebrew, it said cubit.
How many one cubit meters?
I don't know. It's not me. I think it's almost a half a meter almost. About it's like, I think it's 500 or something centimeter.
500 centimeters.
I think for 1 cubit. We can check. I finished my video, and at the visitor center, we can do the conversion. We can look on a calculator. Yeah, but it was a standard. Yes, it's from your feet. Yes, but it was a standard. It wasn't like you're small, he's bigger. They actually had a standard. Yeah, they have, in Egyptian, I've been to Cairo. In the Egyptian tombs, they have a cubit measuring rod. So they had a standard measurement. It didn't change. And it has it right there. So you can take that, and during the time of Moses, because he wrote Genesis, Moses, when he said 300 cubits, the cubit when he was alive, this is the time of the Exodus, was the Egyptian cubit. That's the one that everyone used. Like today, everyone uses, the metric system, meters around the world. And in Moses' time, it was the Egyptian cubit. That was the standard. Yeah. Okay, I'll finish this, and then I'm just going to slowly make my way around. I mean, enjoy your time. We'll meet up there again. Yeah. And then we can watch, there's a video you can watch, and we'll talk about the old photographs. And says, yeah, see you in a bit. Okay, we're going to continue on our way. Now, this area is interesting because right over there is where the big boulder is, and this mound, whatever's below it, is it part of the rock? It kind of pops up like there's something below here, right here. You see the sheep have a trail right here. Yeah, more tourist. Now here, let's talk about this area that's outside Noah's Ark. So, some people get confused, actually a lot, especially those who don't go in the visitor center and first come out on the ridge and just take pictures. They think this area right over here to the right is Noah's Ark. Or they say, what's that compared to the ship shape right here? And the actual ship is right there to the left. That's the western wall. This area here, if you look at the old photographs, was just a rough mud flow, earth flow area. It's still kind of, you see the ridges like steps there. That's kind of where it's collapsed. And so now the reason why it's smoother is because the sheep come out here and they graze this area and walk on it. They allow the sheep here, and so it's kind of, they don't allow the sheep on the ark most of the time. Like maybe 1% of the time they kind of go there, but Nuri chases them out, and now they all know not to go. But this outside area, sheep are allowed, and so it has been trodden down or compressed. And then you have this, I don't know if it's an earthquake fault, but you have this line of dirt, and then outside of it, more unstable land, and then you have a little creek. And so all of that has contributed to this one shape right here. Now, is there more to it than that? John Larson thinks this is part of an outer hull that has been pulled apart as the ark came down here. Ron scanned it and didn't see anything, but I don't know if there was such thing as an outer hull, would radars show anything? I don't know. I mean, you look at it, it looks like the rest of the material. So we need to core drill it. If this is outside, it'd be nice to, if this was collapsed outer hull, decayed, wood, then it should show that. Now, what is interesting, when we did the soil test, it didn't show that. The soil outside, the soil here is the same as the soil on the other side, and it is different from the soil inside. So if this was like a thick outer hull that has, get this bee away from me. If this was a thick outer hull that has a lot of wood, because according to Larson's theory, this is a thick bed of wood, then you think it'd be higher carbon or higher organic matter than inside, or be the exact same, because both are wooden objects, the outer hull plus the ship itself. That's not the case. So was this a protection thing around it that decayed? Did people build a wall around the Ark for tourists back then? Or it's just the mud flow? So there's more to understand, and we're always learning new things, and that's exactly the reason why I'm totally against this idea that all the work was completed in 1987. Sadly, some people who don't like any other work being done, because either they're not involved in it or politics or other reasons, they attack anything new. And they say that, the Turkish government built the visitor center in 87 and that's all we need, because by then they had proven it was Noah's Ark. That's not the case. In fact, the whole visitor center thing, when you talk to Dr. Salih, who was involved with that process, he pointed, this site was declared a national park, but it was in regards to the shape of it being a Noah's Ark. So like it was a cultural, geological preservation purpose that they did that. They don't want the villagers plowing up this area. That's one thing. And then the other thing is that there's always been new technology and new work being done. And so you can't expect what was done in up to 87 to be the last say on anything. And that's why archaeologists usually leave, like when they do professional excavations, they don't excavate a whole site. They leave stuff for future generations that might have better tools, better technology, better labs. They say, like Sarah, the archaeologist, they call the space archaeologist, she wrote some books. In some of her presentations, she believes that in the future, you'll have this type of scanning technology where you can virtually excavate a site and not even touch it. So there's definitely more technology always being invented, and so it helps us understand it. So those who say, oh, let's stop all work, or don't believe any new work being done because everything done in the past is it, and that's the best understanding we can have of Noah's Ark, or what was done up to 87 is 100% wrong. And those very same people who say this were the ones who were here with myself and others for the 2014 ERT scans, and they use those perfectly fine. This is all done after 1987, and they even financially supported the 2019 GPR work that I set up. And so for me, we're going to keep plugging away until the doors are just 100% shut. And here's a good example when you're slowly make our way to the rock area right here in the middle. Here's an example of where the new scans like ERT and GPR has helped us understand the site better than what Ron Wyatt understood. So here we are where the rock is at. Now Ron thought this was bedrock that was sticking up right here, and that the ship was impaled on it, and thus it stopped from going down to the valley floor. Now we know from the ERT scans, this is two big boulders. They don't even go halfway into the boat. They're mainly on this west side, and there's no bedrock below it. They're free floating. And even Solly is using his surface geology and understanding geology here. He can show that the angle of the hills around the Ark, you can show then where the approximate bedrock is. And this would be like a chimney sticking up, as we talked about earlier. And so he does not believe this is bedrock. And number two, another reason, he says, you look at the chemical analysis of this rock, or just looking at it too, this is a different type of limestone than the limestone in this area. This type of limestone is what you see at the very top of the mountain range, which you can't see from this depression right here. But at the very, very top is a limestone ridge, a saddle up there, and that escarpment is the same material as this. So he believed that it rolled down with the Ark at one point, either when the Ark came down or later, that these two big boulders. So this is new information based on geological studies and ERT scans that shows what we like, a better understanding of Noah's Ark, and we should expect that. What's interesting is that as we do each of these new studies, whether it's soil analysis or GPR work or ERT, it gives more information that this is Noah's Ark, not less information or disproving it's Noah's Ark. So you'd expect like one of these things would say, like we get the results back and say, oh no, it's all the same inside and out. The soil is the same. There's no difference between the boat shape and outside. The scans are just showing natural rubble and no layers or right angles or voids, possible rooms. But no, we're getting the complete opposite. So, and the people doing this work for us, they're not part of our team. They're maybe even atheists. They're just hired to do a job. So, so to us, that should give more weight to the more recent work, and that's what's been in the news. This is exciting times we're living in. So don't expect everyone will be happy, especially the atheists. But sadly, the small group of people who do believe this is the buried remains of Noah's Ark, there's a split, and some of them are totally against anything new being done. And we're not listening to them. And of course, those people never come out here anyways, or they don't do anything for the new research. They like sitting back in their chairs and criticizing everyone else, and that's their prerogative. They want to do that. But for us, we'll continue until we can't. And so our next step, there is a new type of, not new, but there's another type of geophysical survey technology that will go deep, that we're trying to understand the valley floor, that will prove ultimately what we're talking about, that this is not bedrock sticking up right here, and maybe even show the bottom of the boat better. So we're going to apply, it's very expensive though, but we're going to apply that whenever we get the funding, fundraising finished and the funds for that, we'll go ahead and do that. And then, when all this type of non-destructive work is finished, we hope to do the scans, the core drilling. So there's still work to be done. Even if you look at when Ron was out here doing work, no one did a professional core drilling survey or excavations. We don't really expect excavations to be ever done in the traditional sense with a top-down pit, but core drilling will tell us a lot, and a possible tunneling in from the side. Anyways, we're here up. So here's an example. You see the outside, the dirt itself. It's just different types of rocks, and everything's just sticking out and covering the ship shape. But this soil, and maybe we'll do another test, because look, here's an example right here. I'll just put the camera right down to it, even though it's 360. I got spider webs on it. But you can see a lot of these rocks here are basalt, volcanic rocks. There are some sedimentary rock in there. But people who make different claims that, here's an interesting looking rock, almost looked like pottery, but it's not. It's flat. And you have, here's volcanic rock right there. But people without any geological training or being around a geologist, they'll immediately say, petrified wood. So, no, it's not. Now, if you look, we're on the edge, the rim, or the edge of the western edge of the boat. Look at that. Pretty cool. There's some sheep down there. Now, this valley floor right here, this is where we found the right angles, 7 meters down, or 21 feet. And that's something we need to core into to see what exactly that is. Now, you got to be careful. There are areas here that are, hopefully there's not an animal in there, but that erosion is happening around the edge of this boat shape, that you have holes. So I'm going to stick the camera down inside, and maybe you guys will see some petrified wood or an animal bite my camera. Hopefully that wasn't too dizzy. We have actually a really nice, almost $2,000 camera system to go underground in preparation for core drilling. a friend brought it over and bought it, so it's here. We need to test it inside these holes even before we core drill. I'm gonna make my way to the top of the ship. I want you guys to look at something here. So 3/4 away around the ark, the soil fell away. This site we were talking about earlier, that some get confused as being part of Noah's Ark, or the outer hull, whatever. This never fell away. So this is kind of showing you what it used to look like before the earthquakes. So in 1960, when the expedition came out here with Durupınar and Vandeman and Norbergen and all them guys, Brandenburger, the soil was right up to the ark, right up to the ship shape. And this is some of these areas up there that's eroded. That's where they blew the sides out with dynamite, sadly. Now, it's also erosion because they had sheep and people walking on the rim. One test I would like to do with Sully Barak Tutan is testing the soil right along this rim shape all the way around. Get soil samples and then compare it to soil outside and inside, and as you go further away too, and see if there's a difference with carbon and, you know, as the ark decayed, anything unique with the soil along the rim. So that'd be a lot of samples. We got 88 samples last time, so it might be similar or larger sample set, but that'd be interesting to see if there's anything different in the soil right there. Any difference going all the way around the boat compared to right outside and further away, and also inside. Now, here's a good example of another rock. Just, it's not basalt, heavy, but if I were to take this to Sali, you know, looks like some type of clay mud rock or something. But I am 100% sure he's not going to say it's petrified wood. They can see, you can determine just looking at something too without even doing any chemical analysis. Now we're on the inside western edge of the ship, and there's the central hump. And then here are the two big boulders that a lot of critics say, this is the reason why we have the ship shape is because of these boulders, which is not true. But you can see there's other boulders here, and you know, when the area got covered with dirt and rocks, there's a lot of stuff here. That's sedimentary rock right there, and here too. It's like you have all of this. Look at this rock. This one has a crystal vein, but we go down all the way to it. But it's gray color. But then, yeah, you have this reddish rock, and you have the more purplish. And this whole central hump is the same thing. Have a lot of rock. I remember we scanned these three areas, the central hump here, and then the valleys on the east and west side of it. We did in 2019. I asked them to do like a zigzag pattern with the 250 megahertz to really get good data. Sadly, we got a lot of interference with that antenna. We don't know if someone had a cell phone on, but it caused problems, so there wasn't the greatest data. But the 100 megahertz, we got really good data. Now, if you look from the visitor center side, it looks like this rock is taking up like the middle part of the boat. But as you can see, it actually only goes to not even the midpoint. It's mainly on the west side, these boulders. But over here, it's actually even flat right there. But this area, there's no rock there. And there's pieces of rocks right here. And you do have submarine basalt right here. It's falling apart, but you can see how I kick it and move. So it's a big boulder, or a fractured of a part of the boulder. But it's not like the whole thing is this one rock. And the guy who wrote that, Murat Advinci, I forget. Anyways, he published a paper, and it was published in a peer-reviewed journal that this was a solid block of rock that came down, a limestone rock. I think he's saying from the Miocene period, maybe. But anyways, it came down from way up down the mountainside, The solid rock came to here, and then the glacier formed it. And then there's variations on that theory from others who quote him or believe the same. Yet I doubt the guy's been out here. If he's been out here, he realized there's different types of rocks here, and it's all dirt. There is not a one solid limestone boulder, and our scans are showing that too. So now we're on the central hump. Now it'll be interesting to core this site here to see what is below. ERT scans are showing something really highly resistive deep down inside here. Is this just like a whole bunch of material from Noah's Ark that's then kind of collapsed in, and then the sides decayed away? And, in the old photographs, it's kind of hard with black and white, but it does look like this was shallower. This central hump it was probably the same, where it's at now. It didn't get pushed up, but what it looks like is this other side has fallen away more, and so it makes it steeper. That's something. It'd be nice to really understand that. We did do LiDAR in 2019. It'd be nice to do LiDAR again and see what's changed on the site, and then try to compare it to the old photos to see really if this outside edge is falling away more. Even doing measurements for the width of the arc here would determine that. We know the length is still 515 feet long. It'd be interesting to show how the width, if the material around this central hump is falling further out. Right over there, looking straight ahead, that was closer and more preserved, kind of like part of this edge of the ship, but it has fallen away, and so erosion's going on there a lot. 2019 GPR trip, the Science Channel was here filming us. I remember we had a whole thing set up here where they were interviewing people on the boat. It's a perfect location to do it. Now the problem with being on the Ark, I say it's a problem, but because the Ark is actually so big when you're on it, it's hard to get a photograph when you're on it, like a selfie or just a ground photo that will show you that you're on Noah's Ark, because it's so huge. The best thing to do is a drone photo, or up from the visitor center, that area on the west side. Now, if you go up on the east hill right over there and take a picture of the Ark, you don't really see anything because the Ark itself is tilted, I think it's 4 or 5 degree angle toward the west, and the ship formation itself is on the western side of this valley of the mud flow. And so the best location to take pictures is from that west area, like where the visitor center is. So let's see. Now in this area, let's say like right in this area here, this is where we are seeing this central atrium that we've been talking about, that's been in the news, that starts about 7 meters down, really. So about 20 feet down from this location, you start seeing that, and then it goes down to 13 meters from here. Now it's interesting, we're up on a hilltop, and 7 meters down from over there in that valley is where we see the right angles over there. So I wonder if those right angles are starting at the same level. That's 7 meters down from there. So what if that's at the same level as the 7 meters uphill, or the 4 to 6 meters where the corridor is coming in. Since the ship is at an angle and you have some of these high and low points on it, these valleys, it's not just one flat plane. So it'd be nice to understand exactly how this angular structure, what level that is at, compared to what level we're seeing material uphill. Now the best information we're getting is on the uphill end, with the corridors, the possible rooms, and of course this central atrium. And that actually, what's interesting, that fits what Ron thought. Because Ron believed that the uphill end was the best preserved. And we're getting our best data with the 100 megahertz on this. Now, he was using, it was interesting, a 500 megahertz and maybe 200 or 250. And so he actually was getting more shallow data below the surface, and he believed that the ark, the hull, was what we call today the middle deck. So that's another example of more information being taken or understood, better data about the ark from the newer scans that helps us understand it better. In the 80s, they thought the ship was shallow and what was left was just the hull mainly and part of the middle deck at the very, very top. Now we're seeing that what he thought was the hull was the middle deck, and the hull is further down below that, according to the ERT scans. And the ship has better preservation underground. You know, coring and excavations would prove all that better, but again, this is another reason why you do more work as much as you can, because you're going to understand something better. Now let's actually head to the top. This is your virtual tour. We'll maybe come down the east side. I think I have another video I'll add on to the end from another trip where I walked up this central area, this eastern valley area. So we're going to not go down that way. We'll get to the very top, talk a little bit up there, and then we'll walk down the east side. So you got a 360-degree view all the way around the ark. Now I always ask people, because you know the ship shape itself, the rim, you can call it, what's exposed above ground, it is dirt. I mean, you can easily destroy it, but it stayed there all these years. And so I asked them, what made this shape, like the dirt right here? A perfect ship shape, pointed end on the top, rounded below, the exact length given in the Bible, and it has a dirt rim, like right here. This is not solid rock. It's amazing. You know, this is what you expect to see from a 5,000 or 4,500 year old boat. This is the type of decay. Now, somewhere up that big mountain, people have planted wood. I even interviewed a friend of mine who was asked to be a part of that project in 2008 or 9, and he knew exactly what they did. I mean, they said it. They was going to give him. At that time, he said it was over $100,000 just to be a part of it because of his English speaking. So if they're going to give one guy that money to be a translator, then you can understand they had a big budget. And now we know they did. They got all this money from these Chinese businessmen and Koreans who really don't understand geology about that mountain. And sadly, was naive, didn't understand that locals will do their best to make money off of ark hunters. Now, 75 feet from the end right there, coming down, I don't know where that would be, in this area or a little further down. This is where they did the 500 megahertz scan, the very first scan of the GPR on the ark in June or July of 1986. And if you look across this area, you see different rocks and dirt, but they were showing 13 lines, or reflections, I should say, coming in. Now, that is really interesting because we scan this area and we're getting data below it because we had the 100 megahertz and a 250 megahertz, especially the 100. We're seeing the voids below here, a central tunnel, and different sections of it, and even a side tunnel over here on the west side. So there's a lot going on below the ground right here. This would be a great spot to put down a drill and core it. And of course, right up here is the famous place where they dynamited it. Yep. And of course, you can tell how much of the dirt has fallen away after the earthquakes, because on this east side you have really big cliffs. Man, there's a lot of glass here. Someone broke a bottle. I don't think it was Noah. But right here, they coordinate, and then I think either locals or tourists, or it might have been the university team, they took samples of this rock. But again, this near surface stuff is rubble that filled it in as the boat decayed. So that's not petrified wood. Here we are, guys. We're at the very top. We're almost at the top. And this pointed in is the one big reason why the main theory that this mud went around a rock to form the boat shape is wrong, because this pointed in would be downhill. Let's get you to the top and give you a good someone spit the gum out. People leave their trash, sadly. But here's a good view of the boat. 4K 360 tour, the first of Noah's Ark that will be on YouTube. I think it's the first, maybe not. I don't know how much of this I'll edit or just put the whole thing up. I think there's a couple spots I'll take out, add on the other tour. So if that's the case, I'm going to turn this off, get a drink of water, relax a little, and then continue on this east side. Okay, we are back. See if you guys can hear us. I hope this mic wasn't turned off halfway through this tour. Otherwise, we'll just do music. I saw that it had disconnected. Anyways, we're at the top end, guys. I want to point out that on both sides here, they had dynamited in 1960, trying to look for petrified wood. Again, this idea that you're going to find petrified wood near the surface. Maybe there are chunks here and there, but there's, of course, they didn't know what they were about that, so they didn't find anything, and so they just blew the dirt up and destroyed part of the hull, the ship shape. We're gonna go down now and do a tour, not much on the east side. This is, the dirt had fallen away, but I'll just point out a couple spots, and just so you have a 360 tour around the whole boat, and also because we have not gone down this side in a while. So now this area here is what you see in the ERT scans. This is the outside below the ground area that people call the hull, the outer hull, that really is known as. But underground here is that spot, and it's kind of angled outside the edge of the actual ship shape. But one thing I want to point out on this east side is this is where Ron did the mini excavation, where him and Richard Reeves had shaved a couple inches off the outside edge and had exposed those light and dark striations. Looked like a lot of water has come down this one side here and created a little erosion. You can kind of see it has its own little mud flow at the bottom, and it kind of has a channel right there. But it'd be nice to redo that and then get soil samples to do chemical analysis between the light and dark material. But so this area has always been exposed through the 80s. But what's interesting is that what we're standing on right here, this little hump outside, is that I call beached whale, that outside hull that we see, the blue shape that you see in a lot of the new images about the ERT scans from 2014. And at first, I knew the outline was mainly outside the ship shape, but then I looked at some of my drone photographs and realized that there is a hump right here, and it's right where that's at. So it'd be nice to drill down right here, see what it is. Now, this whole area outside, it has its own little wall-like structure going around the whole thing, And maybe that should be sampled too. We did take some samples from out here. We should do some more to compare it to the inside. But again, the inside samples has that higher carbon and potassium and also lower pH. But this area here, I don't know about the outside hull. That needs to be proven more because it does sound very controversial. And it is outside the ship shape, so maybe it's easier to get permission to drill down into this. Because right now, when you're walking on it, it's just like the Noah's Ark site. The boat itself is just dirt and rocks. And here's a boulder. Someone could say that this stuff had just rolled in. This was up to the edge of the ship before 1968, we believe. And then this all fell away. In 1968, there was a earthquake that hit 5.6, 10 miles from here. And that what did it in and brought all this dirt away and fell away from the Ark. I just want to point out, since we can see a good view of the border, so right up there, there's my friends from Slovakia and Ukraine. But right up there is the limestone saddleback ridge. So you can see there's a lot of sedimentary deposits in the area. There's fossilized coral throughout this mud flow and some fossilized seashells and snails. And then straight up there, past the Ark, is the border. You see the border tower. And right beside it, you can barely make out the stone border markers. We're going to put a video out about that. I did one short video about the stone markers and showing that they were not ancient inscriptions but modern Farsi numbers. And some people were confused. Others said, oh, thanks for the information. I don't think anyone really 100% understood. And I did say we will make a longer video with the presentation explaining the research. So this is, again, more examples of why you keep doing research and don't just sit back and repeat and parrot what someone says. Because Ron really did believe that there were inscriptions on there and that one of them shows the boat shape and they were birds and all that, but the birds turned out to be Farsi numbers and the ship shape turned out to be upside down heart. And you can even see it in his old photograph that he used. When you look up close, you will see that the shape of it is not a boat. It goes all the way up and turns inward as one of the heart shapes, upside down heart. So that's still, that marker's there. We documented it all. We got permission. It took a lot of work because that's Iran. The other side, we had the photographs, so we flew the drone into Iran with permission from both sides to document this. And so that was back in 2021. And then in 2023, we did a presentation about the results at the Noah's Ark Symposium. And now we're going to do a video finally about it. The results are in the book they published last year, or was it earlier this year? Last year, yeah. From the symposium papers. And so now we're going to continue down. We'll leave the guys there to enjoy their time. But we're going to continue down this east side and give you a nice tour around Noah's Ark as if you were here. By the way, I don't want to forget, I'll probably add something to the beginning of this video, but we do have the Noah's Ark Mount Sinai combo tours, so you can do both at certain times of the year when it's good temperature on both sides, or both sites. So for now, that's like middle fall and late spring. So that will be on our websites, both discoveredsinai.com and noahsarkscans.com. So check those out. We have one coming out next month, but that's too soon. Then check out May. We have even a big tour in May, so you can do all the sites from Israel, Jordan, Saudi, Egypt, and Turkey. Now, this is pretty steep here, so I'm going to, of course, I don't have to turn around because this is a 360 camera, but behind me, you can see that we're going down this edge, this ridge, or hilltop, and it's right beside the boat. And again, this is that area that was below the ground here is supposed to be the hull of the ship, the outer hull. And I just picked my way through here without falling. The sheep have really good hoofs or whatever they use. to go down. I'm just going to work right sideways. Get down this valley, and you can see, look at the type of rocks here. Like here's red, oops. There's blue ones. There's really shiny metallic looking ones, and there's high iron in a number of these. But then here's this outside, almost like wall that goes around this edge. And I think this is just the remnants of what was pushed up against the ark that fell away after the earthquake. And so that's why you have this look, because, you know, in the old photographs you don't see this, because the mud flows all the way up to the top of the ship. But here we are. This is the eastern side of Noah's Ark, and you can see that it is actually higher, like maybe 30 feet or 10 meters, or 25 feet. You know, it has higher sides than the west side. Now, once we saw a fox here. The Russians were flying a drone during the Rick Renner's tour and filming expedition, and they flew it over this side, and a fox heard the noise of the drone, and it came running out of the hole up here. I'll show you where this little cave is. So he's been living in there, or took some shelter, took a nap. Hope he's not in there right now. One time I've been up there, Solly and we got up there, and this is the area somewhere on the east side too that someone took some what they thought was pitch, a very black, I don't know if it's sticky, but it was a black substance, and they later tested at a petroleum lab, and I've seen the test results. This was from the 90s, I believe they did that, and it matched when you overlaid it with testing petroleum product like oil or something, or bitumen. It had the same chemical signature. So, is there oil below Noah's Ark? So that's the hole up there. And you can see that maybe because of the organic material or his breakfast or lunch he brings in, that the grass is growing up there more. So it's a little, I don't know who dug it, but I think the villagers did, but it's just a little hole. No, that's been there for a long time. I think in the 80s they have photographs of it, or definitely the 90s. Now you can also see as you walk on this edge, there is like a cap or a top to the ark soil, and then it's about 1 meter thick. And you can see with the drone especially, but right here at the very, very top, see the grass growing right there? Should we point it that way? There's two different lines of material, as if two different events had covered the ark. And I have to put an arrow on the video or do a lecture about this, but it'd be nice to date it or take samples to see like when each one of these events happened that cover the ark. There's a top part there, and then there's like an interface that goes to the next one, and it's different color, but you can also see a line as if this topsoil covered it after it was already covered before for a while. So different events of debris covering the ark. If we can date those sequences, or at least understand about each one, see like what type of soil, maybe we can show where it came from up higher up on the mud flow or the time period. And there it is right there. So it does look like I'm thinking that's a rock in the cave. It almost looks like there's a fox in it. I talked about the fox, and now I'm seeing things. And I'm thinking there is an animal in the cave looking at me. Well, foxes are scared of people, so they wouldn't, unless they're diseased, they're not going to come after me. The sheep were just in this area earlier today too. Yeah, you can see the cave better right there. Away in the distance, you can see our friends from Europe. They're enjoying the mud flow, exploring. They made all this way. They drove all the way here in like 1 week from Slovakia, and they've been sleeping in the van. And they got here, and now they're so excited to see everything. So, and I'm going to take them to Arzap, where the Anchorstone village is at. Yeah. So the other interesting thing is that when you look at the drone photographs, these two things look kind of roundish the way it eroded. Like there's two big round beam ends right here, but they're huge. So I don't know what they are, or just again the way the water eroded around the dirt. But that's something I have to point out in with an arrow in this video, or just do a different presentation about it. Since this is a 360 video, sometimes it's hard to do that. Anyways, we're almost at the bottom of the ship. And then we'll hopefully have enough battery to end this, and that will be done a complete tour today. And we'll upload this with some extra pieces from other trips, and maybe a couple of my earlier 360 videos from coming up the road and etc. Oh, that kind of scared me. Like, what is this? Someone's jacket. It might have been the shepherd kid. I don't think that's the European guys. They got hot and they left their coat here. Here's a tour bus coming in. That's good. It's a nice day, and people are coming to see the Ark. And we're praying that we have this good weather for the next couple of weeks, because all the way to the end of the month of November, because we have a final tour towards the third week of November. We have the news crew coming out. We have the U.S. diplomat coming here for a VIP tour, and let's see what else. Yeah, we have then we have the big tour group also. The friends companies putting together that will be lecturing on. So it's and we want to do research out here in November. So pray for the weather. Oh, looks like that was a village bus. But keep us in your prayers as we do this fundraising. It'll go through the winter into the spring. Some of this is for next year. And we just ask that if you can help us, check out our donation page. Even $10 will support us. If we get enough people with $10, that will cover something. Or if you have an extra cushion and believe in this work, we believe this is a very unique site and ministry, and the work being done here is one of the most important things on the planet, dealing with the days of Noah. Hey guys, look, it's a skull. It's one of the animals that did not make it off the ark, or he fell right off the ark and died. He's like, yes, I'm home. The flood, I survived the flood, and then he died right there. I don't know. I think that's a sheep skull from the local shepherds eating them. Well, we made it to back to the bottom, and the rounded end. The best ship design, guys. Rounded end helps disperse the waves coming this way. Pointed end helps the boat cut through oncoming waves. It's all about ship stability. This Noah's Ark was not a barge, not a box, not a flat bottom ship. So hope you guys have a great day, and hope you enjoyed this tour of the Ark site. And if you can make it, check out our summer tours. We've listed most of the dates on noahsarkscams.com, so you can join us here and see not just Noah's Ark, but the evidence for UR2 and the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, sites. See you, Nuri.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, you maybe should be. Oh, well, you have your son. You can be with your sunglasses on. They won't know who you are.
Oh.
I was gonna say you're right in the frame of the.
Oh, am I?
Because the 360 lens.
No matter where I would, I'd be in it.
Yeah, it's true. Unless you go further away. Well, I can edit out this part. I'm just gonna see how it looks. I might have to come back and do it by myself. This will be our first try.
Give you a chance to do that. Like
Yeah.
a draft.
See, exactly. See how it looks and see how I want to walk it next time.
I was reading your
the items that you sent out, and for like the hiking boots, was like, you know, I don't have any I have like my Skechers shoes, which are like really
did you-
slippery bottom. That's
Oh,
why I
you-
said, well, I need to get something with better grip on them. So
You got some new ones?
I went to the mall there in Belgrade and found some that had good grip on the bottom.
They have a pretty
They
good
were on
selection
sale.
in Belgrade?
No, not really.
No, really?
I mean, these were on sale. I got them for like 70 bucks,
Oh.
which normally they're like 110.
Are they a name brand or the local brand?
Yes, Columbia.
Oh, okay. Oh, the Columbia, yeah.
Nice green grass right there.
Here we are. Go into the brush, into the trees, around this brand. You know, back when they had the original, the first 360, they had an accessory for the Maverick 1 drone. You can hang the 360 from the drone.
Oh, really?
And we bought that, and we tried it once. And you get, you know, we did photos, the 360 shot from up in the sky.
Is it still pretty steady? Or?
Yeah, it was just a photo, just take a photo.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a, yeah, back then, it wasn't the best quality. Cross over here. Guys having a picnic up there. See them. This is all part of the mud flow. All this uneven terrain. I'm glad they finally cutting the grass and haying, so now we can see where we're walking. Last week, you basically hit a hole and you fall in almost.
Oh, really?
Because you just can't tell where your foot will land.
Is that long?
And today you can see everything. Well, it'll trip you up or knock you over. You can't see the bottom. There's my turn. There it is. This is a good shot right from this spot. It shows that how it just sits there. Watch the edge here.
Oh, wow.
But there it is, just sitting. Yeah, there's some little water.
There's a little cave in right there.
Oh yeah, it just fell down from this side, I think. No? Oh, or the other side maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe we'll capture on video. Ah!
Yeah.
360 as I tumble in. Yeah, it just sits in the mud flow. And at the time, you know, before the 70s, that mud flow, it's hard to imagine, but it was right up to the edge of this thing. All the way up to that, and all that, the edges, both sides, were all right. You saw the old photographs, right up to the rim, you can call it, of the boat. Here comes the tractor. Okay, continuing on our way. Yeah, we go that way, but I think I'm just taking it this way. Maybe we'll find a fox out here. He was one that roams out. A couple coral pieces we found right in this area.
Oh yeah.
That's in the visitor center, the smaller ones. Yeah, you give you an idea. Well, I fell from that other side we were standing, where it fell off. It gives you an idea of the mud, this melange, mix of everything. And maybe we'll find some fossils in it. There it is. You get closer, you realize, especially when you're on it walking, it's on an angle, and then how wide and big it is. Oh wow! Since I set up that time lapse, these clouds have come in.
Oh yeah.
So it's gonna hopefully look good for 1 hour worth. Now we've measured it with laser and also this on the ground following the terrain, and it's all, you know, it hasn't lengthened. It's still same size as back when Ron and even the 60s when they measured it. 515 feet. Always look down because you never know. Maybe you'll find a rivet.
I'm an old rock hound. I always look down when I'm walking.
Yep.
The rocks.
My house of artifacts and rocks on the bookshelf. A whole bunch of shelves just full of that.
So look at the Indian arrow points.
Yeah, my dad would do that. He'd collect arrowheads from the west. Now there's land snails. These white little, they're not fossils. Like the ark burped up, pooped out the back end.
Now this is the stern.
Yeah, this is a rounded stern. This is that guy was pointing out how the World War II and even from the 90s onward, the Coast Guard ships had a rounded stern or blunted. What we'll do, we'll get to the top and then point stuff out all the way up. We'll come down this side, and then from there you can wander around, go back up. You can go up this side if you want. Oh, I'm gonna actually go back up to the top. I brought that same detection gear that I was using with the Ankara people. I brought it here. I've never actually used it on the Ark. I want to see how deep it can scan, because there's a void setting, and I want to see if it'll pick up what the GPR did. You know, see 4 meters down. We were only getting 2 meter or above last week. But that was different soil, so this is a different type of soil here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I thought I'd use it here. I never used it, so I had it sitting in my house. It was bought to be used in Saudi, and so a friend bought it for me to take it in the Saudi, and I never took it there yet. So I started using it. We had loaned it out to a local who's a treasure hunter. He was looking for stuff. But you know, these manufacturers, these are these long range ones too. They include both. So they claim that it's almost like dowsing. Like they can point out gold, and you switch a knob and Then it'll look for silver. I never got any of that to work. I think it's a made up that part. But it also has a tablet that works for, that shows you like a scanner below the ground. So I'm going to try that here. This is the east trough here on this east side of the boat. 75 feet up, that's where they found that deck timber. And they did test that for organic carbon, and it had 0.75% organic. So it's not just like plain basalt rock, some of the critics claim. It's actually nice little puffy weeds.
Yeah,
Beautiful kind of
blue, purple.
Yeah.
They look like
Thorny, but the flower, look at this one up here with the actual flower is coming out. That is interesting. I've seen it like the other way, but not.
looks like thistle, but it's different.
Yeah. Oh, this one has a big bumblebee just flew off on it. Hi. Tourister there. Well, we'll have to take a picture.
Looking at it and saying, look, no, there's no one, yeah.
It's like the time I was out here flying the drone. Who's that guy? Oh, just a shepherd. Where's the sheep? See, you always have like rocks on top. Pretty big ones too. Up there. Now, if you remember from the poster set, it was in this area right up here that we got the parallel lines about 9 feet down.
Oh, yeah.
We were in the radar, and that was actually live. They saw it on the screen. They had stopped and were looking at the GPR screen and dialing down through the layers. They got to 9 feet, and the parallel lines, some perpendicular ones, popped up, and the guy's like, wow, there you go, or something like that. And then his friend was recording it on the iPhone. So on that trip we had the science channel here, so they got so excited they had to interview everybody back up at the visitor center. In this area here, there's the central hump. So on the resistivity that Larson did 2014, he said there's a highly resistive layer right in the middle of this. He said you think it would be glass based on how high it was reflecting. I forget the GPR saw that same thing. It was too deep. ERT goes much deeper.
Glass dome at the top there.
Maybe the windows had glass. I mean, it had like a, you know, the captain, what do you call it, where the pilot is, with a bow. So maybe the bridge, yeah. Glass, big windows you can look out, see all the dinosaurs dying. Up here to the main, like the center point right here. Oh. See, I could just take this one instead of breaking off the other one. It's the same rock.
Oh yeah.
For the lab, the test. Should stop this and restart it, and I can stitch the two together.